Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast from me, Laura, and today we have special guests, Patty. Say hi, Patty.
Hi, how are you?
And Randy. Thanks to
And Harry. We have Harry.
I have
and Harry the cat.
Harry the cat.
On the floor.
So welcome to another video. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for being here. I know I really appreciate it. And if it's not your first time here and you're watching again another video, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Return business is always a good thing.
Yes, exactly. And today we are going to go over some position reviews and talk about what the judge is looking for and some other sneak ideas. And if you want your picture reviewed, send me an email. I've got an email here that you can send it to right here, thistleridge@hotmail.com. You send me a picture and we'll get it on to review live. So you ready, ladies, to get moving here?
Sure.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
There we go. There's our first picture.
And did you say, Laura, this gal's in?
She's in Holland or somewhere, or Norway, or she sent a picture. Yeah, she sent a picture to me to do a review, and I did a review and posted it, but I thought I'd like to share again some more tips from another side. So yeah, so she sent it. She sent 3 photos. This is one of them. And one of the other photos was over a cross-country jump. So I think that she's eventing. And this would be the stadium portion of the event. So I would like to give her some comments on her position and some exercises to start. I mean, this is the jumping part, right? You can see that the flags are on the jumps, red on the right, white on the left for the flags, and looks like a lovely horse.
It looks like a really kind horse. And Randy, you go.
You want me to go?
I'll go.
I agree. I love this horse. You can see he's a trooper. There's no question about it. And he's just doing his job going along. But what I see happening with her is, first of all, she loves what she's doing so much, this rider. You can tell that she's worked very hard at this, and she's trying to get everything perfect.
And she looks like she might be near our ages, Randy.
Well, that could be.
I'd love to know, Patty, how old do you think I am?
24.
Oh, thanks.
50.
So as I look at her, what I'm seeing is that she's got this desire, she's got this love, but she's got no spring in her position. There's no flexing of the ankles, the knees or the hips. And that's a result of her perching forward a little bit because she's not quite sure how to use her body to wrap it around the horse's leg or belly so that she has more security. But that's an easy fix for somebody like this. You know, all she has to do is start focusing on if she can feel the movement. Can you feel your ankle springing? Can you feel
that's important, right? You have to have that ankle in there and
the
be
knees
flexible.
should be springy too, and the hip. So go ahead.
So Randy, so let's take someone our ages, like in their 60s, that's doing this, and things are not as springy as they used to be. And so we have to take that into consideration also. And
that's true. But as we look at this, go ahead.
So just as we look at it and talk about those things, I think then we should talk about what one can do when we're not quite as springy.
Right.
Well, this is a position error. You can see that she is not into her lower legs. Her lower leg is not stretching back and down because she's standing up on the front of her foot a little bit.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think this is position error. We were talking about the spring because I love that you talk about that. And I think it's such a good thing. And I think that just on a position error, her weight needs to be in her lower leg, her foot needs to be more forward, her hand needs to be more forward. She's doing
So
what
wait a minute. Now you're saying too many
I'm
things
sorry.
at once. So
Okay.
so let's just go back and
So,
say,
weight in her lower leg,
yep.
which would push her foot forward a little, right, Randy?
Now let's even
Right.
go one step beyond that. I mean,
And
we
let it
got
get
this foot
free.
on the stirrup thing. We got the like.
I can't
Of
see
course,
that.
she's an eventer, right? So
And that's okay, but she
yeah.
still needs this right balance. You know, everybody always says, well, they're eventers. Well,
No,
one of
I
my
mean eventers, but that's why she's got more foot in the stirrup. Like her foot is, right jammed in there almost.
Well, she's using the back of her heel though, so she's not using the inside of her calf muscle if she's
yeah,
going
she's
Right.
hanging on with her it appears that she's hanging on
at
from the
this
back.
second in time, right?
And
Yeah.
and the other thing that we talked about is that the front of her calf should be near the girth, and that the inside of her calf should be against the horse.
That's
There's that
spot
whole
on
thing.
where it reaches the horse. That's an interesting concept to bring up is how much of the rider's lower leg should be on the horse. Because, we were all taught in the old days, wrap your leg around the horse, right?
I was taught knees tight, actually. I
Yeah.
was the old military,
Right.
but yeah.
But you need to wrap your leg around the horse. It's what's holding you on. I mean, let's go to some basic, simple stuff here. So to stay on over the top of a jump, you need to keep contact with your horse, with your lower leg.
As much as possible, I
As
think.
much as possible. And you need to ride on the inside of your calf towards the front.
Yeah.
And you need to have that leg underneath you for balance.
Exactly.
So you have
Has to be there.
right. And so otherwise you're hanging on as this lady is over this jump, hanging on to the horse's mouth. So you have this kind horse that's jumping the jump, and that's great. And he's doing a good job. And like Randy said, it looks like he's having a good time doing it. His ears are up. He doesn't particularly mind this ride.
No.
But he may be well used to it too. But if she didn't have her reins, she'd fall off.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, she'd fall off. She's holding on by her reins to the horse's mouth. So, and as I said, he doesn't seem to mind. However, it's not the best position and not the most stable position you can have. So if we can get the weight down in her lower leg
And how would you do that? Get the weight down in her lower leg here.
Right.
I mean, she's gripping with her knees and balancing on her hands.
And her toes.
And her toes.
Pushing on her toes instead of pushing the weight in her down the back of her calf. Randy, scream at me if I'm wrong. Down the back of her calf and the weight down in her heel, and using her heel as a shock absorber, her ankle as a shock absorber. In the perfect world, it would be much better. And her foot needs to be not quite so far in the stirrup. With that close up, you can see it more. The ball of the foot in the stirrup. And I think even if you're cross countrying or fox hunting, you need to keep the ball of your foot in the stirrup to let your ankle work. And if your ankle's working, then the back of your calf is stretching. And if you hold your calf on the horse, the inside of your calf on the horse, and kind of hug the horse with your calf, then you always have a connection that's there when you need it.
Right. And it's not a tight hold, it's just a feel. And
like hugging. Yeah, like you're hugging your horse.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because some people will get that grip where they're doing that grip like this all the time.
The horse just kind of squeeze out. I think we talked about this one other time, is that there are different types of leg applications on the horse. There's the passive leg where you're just there, and an active leg, and a driving aid. So
exactly.
But I think that this rider needs to relax with her knees. Of course, if she wasn't gripping with her knees, then she would not be able to stay on the horse. So what can we do to help this rider So we've
Well-
all focused, all three of us are just focusing from her knee down.
Down.
Plus, you know, she's holding on, balancing on her reins. But we've identified that this rider needs to get the weight down past her body down into her relaxed, supple ankle and heel. So how are we going to do that?
Okay, so let's just take it as it could be anybody, someone who's 12 or someone who's 50.
Yes, this is a common position challenge.
Yes.
Yes,
and it's
exactly.
it's weight in the heel, stretching that ankle. So we know what the end result they want. I think a lot of exercise, making sure the stirrups are the correct length.
Yeah. Are these rider stirrups the correct
I
length?
think so. I think her stirrups
think so,
actually
too.
look pretty good. Randy, do you think?
Stirrups are fine.
Yeah. And
just as an aside, Randy, these are those stirrups you don't like, by the way. Get out
the
your magnifying
stirrup
glass.
with the hook. Yeah, the safety stirrup with the hook. Which is what so many people use.
Oh, and it's got a wedge in it too.
Yeah,
well, the pads
and she has the wedge in there backwards.
But see, and it's supposed to, the band is supposed to be crossed, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
This band is just a band. Usually they have a leather piece, right?
Yes, it's missing.
I mean,
the
we're
leather
getting,
piece.
yeah. So, but, and she's got the wide part of a wedge on the outside and the lower part on the inside.
Yeah.
Which is pushing her knee into the saddle.
Right.
Which-
She's pinching
in this position. To get rid of the wedge.
Yeah,
However,
and what I would do with a riding like this here is I would go back to the because everything's always going back to the basics. I would go back to the basics and I would have her drop her stirrups and start feeling when her leg, because her tendency is when they pinch with their leg like that, what they're doing is they're locking up their knee. You know, and then of course nothing else can spring. So she's got to be able to go out there and practice the basics and just feel, where does she start locking up in her, usually it starts in their ankle and then up into their knee, but to feel when she starts pinching, because that's when she should be opening up her thighs so that her thighs slide down deeper into the saddle, which allows her weight to sink back more down into the lower leg and push it forward. But she can't do that as long as she's pinching.
And she's not going to be able to not pinch as long as she has that wedge. So I've never done this, but I'm having thought processes. If you swap the wedge the other way, it would almost force you to hug your horse, wouldn't it?
Well, I think if you put your wedge the other way with the big part on the inside, is that what you're saying? Let's just take a look here. Yeah, so that would force your toes out more. Would it force your toes out more? Drop?
No, I think it would. If you did that, you might open your knee up a little bit. But that just came to.
Yeah. So
because I've never done that, so I don't know anything about it. But I would take the wedge off, and so that she can use her lower leg, because you can do the no stirrup thing even at the walk. So let's go like in the perfect world that they can ride without stirrups. I mean, so many places don't do the without stirrup thing.
Right.
And
for good reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could tell you that I could have trotted around without stirrups 20 years ago, a lot more than I could trot around without stirrups right now. So physically, even just walking without stirrups, and then maybe sitting trot, Randy, without stirrups.
If you quiet, comfortable.
Go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say on a quiet, comfortable school horse.
Safe horse, right. And then one of the exercises that we all seem to like is the one where they do, for example, 3, 5, whatever steps. They'll do 3 steps sitting trot, 3 steps rising trot, 3 steps point. And what I like about the people, because at first I know doing the rising trot was a little different for you guys, but what it does is when they switch from position to position, especially the rising trot into the 2-point or back into the full seat, they have to learn how to use their position to be able to do it in the steps, because most people can't count to 3 when they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
true.
And Randy, I like your exercise too with where you, well, I say instead of having your knee bone pointing forward, have your knee bone pointing downward. And I think you call that one the magic button or something like that.
Right. Because
the magic button, I learned that a long time ago. I love the magic button. Margie Huff taught me the magic button.
Is that right? So
she learned it from me.
Push your knee down this way. So instead of your kneecap pointing this way, think of pointing your kneecap down that way.
Right.
That fixes a lot of
error. If you ride on the front of your cap.
Yeah. So you're saying.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you guys talk about, I never heard about the magic button until Randy told me about it, but it makes so much sense. If there's, Randy, you explain it, because there's a button here.
Yeah, so you draw, what you do is, it teaches a rider how to be able to create their own riding position. So for the magic button on this rider, if she was standing on the ground, I would draw an imaginary button above her kneecap, a little bit over towards the sides, and it's probably 3 to 4 inches around. And the first thing I ask them, because, we're trying to get all their senses involved, is what's your favorite color?
What's your favorite color?
What's your favorite color, Laura?
This color right here.
All right, so I'm going to imagine, I'm going to touch, because I only do one side at a time. So I'm going to go over to one side. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put this button right here. And then I press down with my hand like this on where that button is. And when I do that, what happens? And at the same time I'm doing that, I have to remember everything now. I push down on that, and then I have my hand behind their heel to put their lower leg in the right place. So it's like I'm pushing down like this here and going like this at the same time, if that makes any sense.
It does. And when I do it, I love doing it with the little kids, because they all want to pull up in the fetal position, and it's kind of what this gal's doing.
It teaches them the spring. It teaches them where the spring is. So that's why I like the magic button, because what happens is, now I forgot what I was talking about there for a minute. But with the magic button, once they learn the feel of the magic button, because they feel it come when you do it, you can do it even when you're standing or sitting. You can push down on your knee, like where you're sitting right now, push down on your knee and focus the weight so it goes to the back of your heel instead of to the front of your foot. Most people, when they push down on their knee, they automatically push it forward, which is what you're doing. Most riders do. So if you push on your knee and you think of pushing back, do you feel how it pushes the weight back into the heel instead of to the front of the foot?
Exactly. It's a good one.
I love the magic button. But anyway, so once the rider gets it, all you have to do is tell them to press their magic button, because the second step would be to have them actually press it so they feel what it does to their leg, so they can mimic what we've taught them to stretch down and back. And then they just, the button is in their mind, and then all you have to do is say, press your magic button.
Yes, and it works great. And it works great for little kids all the way up.
Right.
And the adults get a little, think we're silly, but it works. And once it works, they go, wow.
I know.
And the little kids,
serious.
Exactly. The little kids love it, because it's funny. And as an instructor, it's nice. You have to keep them entertained as you're teaching them. Otherwise, you'll lose them.
Right.
Most little kids, their focus is not always there. So you have
adults, it's just getting them for them to feel comfortable getting that feeling that they need to be able to have. Like they're not sure where their body should be.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And the magic button's very cool. So if I were helping this lady at the horse show, for the one class, I would work on pushing down in the back of her. Well, I do 3 things. I take out those wedge pads. They'd be gone. I would see if she can work on pushing her heel down, going towards the jump. And then I would have her reach forward and grab the mane. I think that, and I would have her do that. And just those things. If she could do those things, it would help her jump immensely.
Right.
Yeah, I think. And that's just pretty simple. But I think when she felt the jump better or saw a picture, some people are very visual. So you have to take the pictures. And hi, April. And so I think
Oh,
that
so this is April. So can we put this on hold? Because we got one of April's pictures here.
yeah.
Because we want April's here to watch herself. So let's try that. Sorry to interrupt you. April, if you can, you got 12 minutes. So I don't know when you posted that, but
I
hopefully you
think
can
it
see
just
some.
came on. So let's see.
Did it? Oh, well, that's okay. So here's April on at her riding lesson.
We saw this before, didn't we?
Different lesson.
Oh, okay.
Same woman, different lesson.
Okay. So that's a really cool indoor.
Can you play it again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm playing.
We're trying to. It's a little choppy, but so over that first X, look, it appeared that her hands came back. So April, make sure, or over that, whatever that is.
Can you see that? I tried to stop it.
Yeah, go a little farther. It was over something. It looked like her hands went back. So, maybe right back. You stopped it too soon. Too late. Too soon. Anyway, just kind of watch that. It's because sometimes we get thrown backwards over those
There, how's that?
right there. The next thing, the next frame, the next frame there. She looked like she pulled back as it landed instead of letting her hand follow through. Minimal. However, remember that the whole thing about gymnastics and grids and all those things is to allow the horse to do their job and you work on your position. So I love your upper body. I think your upper body is great through this whole
I mean,
thing.
that looks pretty good right there.
Yeah.
That's over the first one.
So somewhere in there, and it could have just been the choppy because it's a little choppy, but however,
April, you need more spring in your riding position. You've got a good basics, really solid. But as you're going through things like here in this one, you can see you're almost starting to tip over the front. That's simply because you don't have spring in your legs. So you can practice this. You can stand with both feet on the ground and just stand up and just raise your seat up and down like you're getting up and down on a chair. And feel when you get up, it should feel like your knees are pointing down. And then when you go down, each time just feel, can you push your weight into the top like the magic button and back into your heel, and practice feeling that and see if you can keep the spring, because without the spring, you're going to be sprung out of the saddle like you're feeling here. It's nothing you're doing wrong. You just need more spring, and that'll let your horse move forward more freely.
There you go.
Yeah, I think too, like generally it's awesome. But this one right here, it looks like she's pivoting on her knee and her, like she's pinching with her knee and her lower leg is swung back. I love April's elbows, how soft they are. And she's, her you can see that, oh, look, I can move it in slow motion. That right there, she's getting up and she's pivoting on her knee and her lower leg swung back as her front body comes forward. But look at how soft her elbows are. It's just beautiful.
Nice.
She lands great in her ankle. April, on the way to the jump, I want you, the next time you do something like this,
you can jump backwards. That's really cool.
I love that. That's very cool.
So, and you know what? This is where you can go frame by frame and you can say, look, here, you right there in this moment, you should be everything looks good, but she pinched
except I think between the pole and that first little jump, she takes the weight out of her lower leg.
Exactly. She doesn't center herself over her seat before she goes over the jump.
Right there.
So
there she goes up. She's lost her center. She's not over her lower leg. When this is where she could sink deeper into her position. And it's such a slight thing because you see she's got a great basic position. She knows how to control it. It's just getting that spring back.
So April, simple exercise. When you're doing this kind of thing, or to poles or to whatever, as you approach, get longer in your leg. and keep it longer. And all the way through, your whole goal is to keep your leg long and longer and longer and longer and longer.
Like
And
it's going
I,
around.
and that will help that. That'll help that because you ride well. So you just need a little fix.
Yep.
And the little fixes they're simple if somebody looks at them that doesn't watch you every day. Sometimes watching someone every day is hard.
So one quick thing is that you could think of pushing your heel down and forward. Try to touch the horse's elbow. Oh, where'd it go?
It went away, but we got it.
Try to touch the horse's elbow with your heel. Like if she pushed her heel forward.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Just keep pushing the heel down and just work on it to make it simple. Just push your heel down and forward. And as you come over that pole, and then let the horse jump up to you. You're jumping now, that first jump, which is tiny, you're jumping down to it like it's a big deal. And it's not. The reality is that if you didn't even bend over that and just stayed out of its mouth, the horse would be fine. So work on pushing your heel down and letting him or her jump up to you. It's a cute horse.
Lovely. It's so nice and smooth. Everything is so lovely. Her eyes are up. Love her elbows. Oh, and then something I noticed before was her hands. If you watch on the approach, April and I have been talking about this, the flat hands. If you saw that, I mean, we're getting picky here now. Come on. But
that's what we do.
Yeah, that's why they send these things in, right? Flat hands. How could you fix it? You could see that her hands are flat. I mean, that's minor. And that is
not minor.
So if you saw that in the show ring, what would you do?
Well, I would notice it, and then when everything else was as good as she makes it happen, it's kind of a tiebreaker, maybe.
It's a tiebreaker, yeah. But the flat hands, they're not as soft as what people think, though, are they?
No, because what happens when you do the flat hand, then usually your elbow goes out, and usually then you break your straight line to the horse's mouth. And so you want to have your hands, think about knuckles towards the opposite ear. So
knuckles towards the opposite ear.
Yeah, so when you're holding the reins, your knuckles should go towards, like your left knuckle should go towards the right ear, and your right knuckle the left ear, and then your hands have to be up because you can't do that with a flat without doing that.
Could you do that again? Your left knuckles.
So you're holding the reins, thumb on top, and your knuckle right through here goes like, it's the opposite on here, but that's my left hand goes towards the horse's right ear.
Okay.
And the right knuckle goes towards the horse's left ear. And then and it's not like this because that wouldn't be towards the ears. So you're pointing them forward, and they have a little bit of they're not flat like this, but they have a little bend to them.
I was taught this is how far apart my hands should be, like that far.
Well, but I have such short thumbs that it would be really.
I mean, it's a rule of thumb,
right? A rule of thumb, yes.
But not like. I mean, you can't do that if your hands are, No. Yes, you can. Anyway, and follow the horse's shoulders.
Yes.
Not flat, but parallel to the horse's shoulders, right?
Right. And the in front of the withers and
above and in front.
Above and in front of the withers. So, but the flat hand, if everything else it's kind of like we were talking about the other day. If everything else is working well, the flat hand to me just means someone hasn't harped on it enough. And told them why. The whole thing about teaching is telling them why and how. And so if no one has said, look, you need a straight line to the horse's mouth, and your elbow and your upper arm and your shoulders and across your back is your strength, your fingers are your hands are just holding the reins. And if you get out of that straight line, then the the muscle in your arms isn't going to be able to do its job. And I'm not talking about you having to use strength, but it's muscle. You have to turn
Well,
it.
I think when you ride this way, it does make you use this part of your body, and then you do get muscly.
Right, because you have to.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it this way, your hand is an extension of your elbow when you ride, I think. And so if you can use your elbow back and forth and you're holding the reins properly, it's really not your hands, it's your elbow and upper arm. Yeah, Randy?
I agree completely. So what happens when a rider does this here is they can't ride from their elbow to their seat to connect to their lower leg, their base of support. I call it anchoring.
Exactly. So lots of stuff. There's always lots of stuff. Put that one back. That's just my favorite picture of all the pictures you have.
Is it back up there?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
up. Okay, so
Oops.
there it goes. My humble opinion is that this horse jumps better than this, and that she chipped and missed, and it's saving its life and not jumping down, not knocking the jump down.
Oh, just a second now. I got to go
On the way.
back. Yeah, so keep talking about that while I get
I
this
will.
thing.
I'll talk about that one. So that horse is trying hard to jump the jump properly. And if it always jumped the jump that way with its knees down towards the pole, the top rail, I don't believe that young lady's position would be as solid as it is, because I think that would be hard to ride. I think she chipped and it's pushed off and it jumped over its shoulder instead of down. So I'm going to go with it. It's a better jumper than that. And that when it had to shove itself off the ground to do that, it got in that position. She's in a good position for that jump because I think something happened on the way to the jump. If it didn't, then it's a good soul and he's jumping high and hard and he's trying hard. And she's figuring out how to do it. And I'm assuming, she's dressed in hunter garb, she might be in jumper.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. But continue on chatting while I figure out how to share it.
What do you think, Randy? Do you think a horse just chipped and it doesn't always jump like that?
Yes, it does look that way, and the rider was caught off guard, but you can see the basics are she has a tendency, she's way ahead of the horse's movement, even though something has happened with the horse. What a great horse. And look at how solid her position is. You can see she's got her knee down and stuff, but you can also see at the same time, she's got the lower leg position that looks like it should be right. She's not
right.
Her weight is not into her lower leg. She's created a beautiful position, but she's too far out of the saddle towards the front of the horse. And as a result, she has her weight, you can see her weight is not in her lower leg. Even though it's a beautiful leg position, she's way up on the upper part of her body. Like you were saying the other day, Patty, she's going over the front end.
Right.
That's it. You can see she's at that tipping point.
I think she's trying to save her life.
And a beautiful job she's doing of it.
She is. I mean, her eyes are up, like her eyes are up, her back is flat, her hands are soft, she's not interfering. But like you say, her seat is over the pommel of the saddle.
She's not anchored in the lower leg.
And her heels are down, but she's saving her life by
maybe we would all want to do that.
Well, if the horse jumps like this all the time, she's got a great position for that.
Right.
If she chipped and missed, she did a great job
gripping
getting out of it with her knee, and allowing it to jump up. So I like her position. I'd love to see a video of her. Or is this one that someone sent you, Laura? Is this one you got off?
This is a picture that I bought. So
okay, so I would love to see this girl riding something else or riding this one.
I'm thinking
I don't mind her at all. She's just
if you took that rider right there, took her off that horse, or just cover up the horse. I mean, or put the horse's knees up. you just think, okay, that's okay.
Yeah. She's just got it. Her pelvis is in front of the pommel. And
Yeah.
again, I think it's because of the situation. However, let's talk about the jumping style. So this is not such a good jumping style, guys.
Now, what would you, if you saw this in the hunter ring, what kind of score would you give this jump particular? What would your,
A 50.
yeah,
I'd
50.
give it a 50. And this is one, this is do you want to talk a little judging stuff here?
Yeah, let's talk a little like what the judge is looking for. I mean, this is a 50. If she did one jump like that, probably still be a 50 if one of the jumps was like this, because that's a dangerous jump to me.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's really poor jumping form at this. Yes. So a 50. So this is where people get confused. So little Susie comes in on Fury and jumps around, has a deep one, a long one, or adds a stride, and their score's in the low 60s. So everybody's watching.
Yeah.
And then this one comes in, it does everything correctly, but it jumps a dangerous jump and it scores a 50.
Yep.
So it's sometimes judging can be confusing, especially at this level with that it's where you put your situation. Now, if this were an equitation class and she had the one jump, it could be a little higher score unless she caused this. So, but in a hunter class, it's a 50 to me when they jump like that, because that's just
dangerous.
Yes, yeah, dangerous.
It's of death.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's trying to get himself out of a bad spot because he's really like he's using himself.
And he's so calm about it.
He almost looks like he's twisted and bulging to the right.
Yeah.
Right.
The more I look at it, and
Yeah.
that possibly, I mean, she chipped here. I mean,
Right.
I think she chipped, and so it's flinging itself over the top of the jump. But look at his ears. It's like, okay, I can do this.
I can do right. That's what I like about this. Like, I can do this, and she's like, I know you can.
And the rider turnout is really good. Now, you wanted to talk of something about the previous one.
Oh, the
here.
previous one has on the half chaps.
Yeah.
And they make them so beautiful now that people can do paddock boots with the half chaps on them, and you can't even tell because they blend in so beautifully. So with that being said, if you do that, make sure that they're beautiful and that they fit really well, and you don't want me to notice that you've got them on. So on the White Horse one, so this is a solid boot, and I don't mind if it looks the part, it is the part. And I love her jacket.
Yeah.
It's the right length. It fits well. Randy, is her helmet okay?
Oh, I wanted to ask the helmet on the White Horse too.
Let me get a closer look. Her chin strap's a little bit loose. You can see it hangs down probably 2 inches.
Let me just make it a little bigger.
Yep.
That's as big as she gets.
And this has nothing to do with her placing the show ring or anything, but you can see it hangs down below her neck, like this much, like 2 inches. And it should be enough where you can do it like this here, but when it's got this much of a space, because it looks like it's down here, right?
Right.
Yeah, it should be up here further. Otherwise, it doesn't protect the skull.
Well, and it can also give you a little whiplash if you happen to unfortunately hit the dirt.
Exactly.
And you hit the front of the helmet. If the helmet isn't fit properly underneath your chin, it'll pull back, and it's like it'll give you a little whiplash because it'll grab your chin. It's kind of like,
yep,
I always teach kids to walk close to the horse, because if it kicks you, it's going to push you. And if you're 3 feet away from the horse, it's going to kick you. Right. So I think that that happens with the helmets. And it used to be for a while there that we were supposed to send them out of the ring if their helmet didn't fit right. I still send.
Well, as a steward, that's one thing that I look at in the warm-up ring, right? I just kind of you train your eye to look for certain things.
So sometimes if one comes in and it's really loose and I notice it,
Yeah.
a couple of times, if it's a little kids, I'll have them go back to the in gate and have the trainer fix it, and I won't penalize them. If it's the like short stirrup, cross rails, those kind of things, because I've noticed it, and now if something happens, I'm going to feel really guilty. Sometimes I don't see it till after the 5th or 6th jump in a bigger class, and I'll just send a thing to the warm up down to the in gate and say, hey, would you mind asking this rider to shorten up her chin strap before she comes in again? If she doesn't, and I'll call back down and say, did you ask? And the in-gate person will say yes or no. I will call the steward then and ask the steward to come and check it. But it has to be pretty loose, much looser than this girl's for me to do that now.
Exactly. And the other thing is to make sure that it fits decently and that it's an approved helmet.
Right.
Okay, I finally got this.
Okay, there she is.
Half
so if you can pull up on,
yeah.
if you can pull up on her boots.
Yeah.
And they're called leggings actually now, but you can see she has it's like a half chap over the top of her paddock boots, and they're made to look like a boot, and
they look great.
And they look pretty good, except I think it's got a snap across the back going out instead of in. There's some little things if you really want a horse show in them. I know in the eventing it's not as big a deal, and but you don't want someone to notice it. I have a pair of brown ones, a zipper broke on them, but with my brown boots, it looks like the most expensive pair of custom boots you've ever seen. Tall boots you've ever seen.
Dressage, I think they're not permitted at certain levels. Like, I think they're not permitted at certain levels. Yeah, they are here anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Randy, do you know that?
No idea.
Yeah. So,
but I think they're, they do them at the lower level shows and stuff, but
yeah,
they're not. I don't think they're not allowed at maybe in the FEI level, but I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, just kind of remember, if you do something that's a little out of the norm, to make sure it's perfect. And I'm probably going to get sued over this one. Don't always trust your tack shop. Tack shops,
they're trying to sell stuff.
Right. And I had when I had my business in the Tampa area, we had 3 tack shops, and I went to all 3 of them. And I gave them a list of what was allowed at my barns. And I said, and they said, well, what if they insist? I said, well, then you call me up, because they'll be returning them. And well, but it's true though, because if the tack shop says, oh yes, little Susie, you can use this fluffy white saddle pad that's 6 inches of fluff around your saddle at the horse show, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to.
You should say that.
Oh, do we have something?
I think so. Let's take a look.
Yeah, that's a lot of white, but it also looks like it's one of those fitted ones that's got like the quilting on the inside and then the white. I mean, the saddle pad's supposed to be there to protect the horse's back and protect your saddle. We used to do, when I first started riding, I had an old Steuben, and we rode without a saddle pad.
Yeah, that was it. If your saddle didn't fit properly, you used a saddle pad. So you never went to a show ring with a saddle pad.
Exactly.
I remember cleaning up the saddles after. Jeepers.
Yep,
okay, so let's look at this one here for a second.
So it's the same. Obviously, everyone we've kind of looked at that's just at the level they are, there's been so many the same mistake.
Exactly.
So the same thing. It's exactly like the lady on the white horse early. She's ahead of the horse.
Look where her knee is.
This one I
think it needs a breastplate.
Well, yeah, I think the saddle's too far back, and there's some little things here, but again, there's no weight, there's no elasticity for Randy, and she's not using that leg from the hip down to help her. She's just, and I don't know how you get that far ahead of the knee roll. How do you do that, Randy?
Stirrups too short, and she's
Well, she's not-
just standing up in her stirrup.
She's not riding with her thighs. You know, if she was following the horse's movement, her seat would be down lower where, you know, if you're sitting in a saddle and you just imagine opening up your thighs, you'll feel that it brings you deeper into the saddle. She's just perching up there because she doesn't know at her level, and she's a good rider. At her level, she doesn't understand that she can lower her base of support down lower over her lower leg, and she'll have more security because her thigh will be on the horse. Right now, she's not really pinching with her knee, but you can see her thigh is clearly not having contact with the horse to support her riding position.
Exactly. And it's hard to tell from this picture, and it almost looks like that saddle might be a little small for her. So maybe it's not her saddle, or maybe it's a lesson, but it looks like she kind of overpowers the saddle a little bit, like it. And I think the stirrups are maybe too short, as Laura said, and but it's hard to tell. Again, it's interesting.
But it's another rider who can easily fix these things. You know, these riders are short today. Right.
If she wants to. I mean, if she's the reins have a little slack in them, and all these riders are being very nice to these horses' mouths, except maybe the first one that she was kind of hanging on to its mouth, but he didn't seem to care. So I think that the positions, we keep seeing this common core here that we're not getting enough base and lower leg and elasticity, but you have to get the position before you get the elasticity. Would that be right, Randy?
Yes, well, as long as they have the basic balance.
Right.
You know, because at first they have to learn how to, you know, the kickers and steers, right? So they're learning how to balance their riding position at the same time they're trying to learn how to control the horse's speed and direction.
Yes.
And they move up the levels, like the next level, the more intermediate is where the rider's at a point where they've learned they can balance the riding blocks and their position, right? Where like here, she's at the point where she's starting to understand how to balance her position. So she's got that basic, but the next step after this one would be where she sinks her weight around and becomes one with the horse instead of, you can see she's not one with the horse.
She's at that stage where you go from a beginner to a novice to an intermediate. Like she's progressing really nicely. There's a lot of things that are going right in this photo, though, isn't there? Like,
is this a purchased photo or is this a
purchased?
Okay, so I think the trainers, I think we have a large group of great trainers. They're good instructors. They do their job. I think the hardest part about teaching this level is keeping them busy while making them be better.
Yes.
And so that's the exercises that you do. So all those exercises you do.
So a lot of people have to do those exercises and make them fun.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to do what this girl's doing. So they want to go to the horse show and jump the jump.
Yep.
So you've got to make the homework fun. So this becomes better.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's giving exercises to improve so they get to this point, and it becomes, what does somebody say about the muscle memory? Your first instinct. Well,
I love the muscle memory comment.
Her first thinking riders, which is what our goal is. We don't want to have to tell them everything. We want them to get to a point where they're a thinking rider instead of just somebody that has to be told every step what to do. And even though, you know, Olympians still take lessons, but you get to a point where, as you were saying, it becomes more of an intuitive thing.
Right. And so you have to get all those basics correct early on. And
so what would we do for this rider? Same as the other ones, 2-point position.
2-point, 2-point, 2-point without stirrups.
I would make this rider ride without stirrups to get her leg down longer.
Yes, and then I'd make sure everything fits properly, and so
breastplate on so the saddle doesn't slip back. She's got a martingale, but not a breastplate. Yeah.
And
So that's okay.
but
So
there's all
let's.
sorts of little things to do. Yeah. But it's the same. It seems to be the common problem here. And so in all the pictures that we're seeing, the position fault, all different people from all different parts of the world and our country, they're not using their lower leg and their thigh. And because the knee is so easy to grab a hold on,
Right.
then nobody's fixing that. They need to fix that. And the
Okay.
rider can't fix it. The trainer has to fix it.
Let's
And
change.
The rider has to teach
the
it.
inside of the thigh muscle. So
Yes.
people are clear about that. Not the back, the inside.
Right, right. Just like the inside of the calf.
Right.
And hug your horse. Okay.
So let's change gears a little bit here.
We have a Hackmore.
Yeah, hackamore. Now, we don't see those in the hunters. What's your feeling about allowing bitless in the hunters?
We're not allowed to do it. So it doesn't really matter how I feel about it, except I don't mind the bitless. If somebody, if the association said bitless in the hunter's fine, there's some horses that would be really good with it. However, they're not. No bitless in the hunter or the equitation. And even in the, I don't know, I'd have to look it up.
What?
The jumper eck.
Oh, jumper eck.
You might be able to do that.
Well, if it's
I don't
under
know.
the jumpers, then yes. But if it's under the equitation, then no.
Right. So but some of the, like the Washington and jumper phase and you can use jumper equipment.
Well, we'll have to look that
I
one
don't know.
up.
I've
But
never
I mean,
seen it, so I don't know.
it's
I'd have to be calling the steward fast or sending a text to somebody I know really well, like, oh my God, what do I do here?
So does anyone know why they don't like to see them in the show ring?
You can use them in the jumpers.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know why.
I think, well, certainly the hackamore it's because it's one reason is because it's the leverage of it. I'm thinking.
Maybe, but you can use a Pelham. You can use a,
Right.
yeah, I don't
True.
know.
For
what the reason.
safety
I think it's
reasons.
probably just something that's not used.
For safety reasons, because they've done studies and people have found that horses that are bitless, there's something about having that piece of metal in their mouth when something goes wrong. It's always accidents, right?
Right, but you can use them in the jumpers. They're legal in the
Well, you can
jumpers.
use them in the jumpers, but that's the reasoning. Who knows why they're not allowing it, but it's got to be because of the safety issues.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think
Because
so.
they allow it in the jumpers, right? But they don't
Yeah.
in the hunter and the other one. So the only thing you can
No.
think of is there's something has happened where it's become a rule.
Somebody got hurt.
Well,
Probably.
people coming in, they're thinking they can ride bridleless, and then they get in with a
Uh,
flat class with a herd of horses, and they don't, if something happens.
Yeah. I mean, this looks to me like it's tough enough that you could probably stop this thing. However, the little bitless ones that look kind of like a round nose band,
Yeah.
and I don't think that would work so well. Okay. This is our girl. She sent this again, yeah?
Yes.
And
Can you
she's
see?
still in the same.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember Randy, but we had last week a young person who she was jumping, got the really, really long spot, and Patty said, well, I want to see her going in another jump. So we have another picture of her, and it's exactly the same position, really.
Yeah, so over jumping with her upper body, not enough down in her ankle and calf. She's, again, it looks long, but maybe not. I think maybe it's just whatever's behind the jump makes it look funky. I don't think she has to do as much as she's doing. Although if she could come up with her hip a little bit and lower leg longer, her arm could follow better, maybe. Again, to have her, I like this girl. Have her send us a video. If I could see a video, I would be happier about commenting too much about it. But it's the same position. Cute pony or small horse, and it looks like maybe it does the jumpers.
Look at how he's folded his legs up there.
Yeah, he's cute. He's
Okay,
trying
so
hard.
what's your comments on this here?
Randy?
Oh, well, on the rain, well, it's, as I look at the picture, the first thing that I see is that I can see what the rain's doing, but it's a result of her not being anchored into her lower leg. So what's
Same
happening?
thing.
Same thing. She's not staying anchored in her lower leg, which means her seat's not over the right place to be anchored over her lower leg where it should be. And as a result, she's just she's following the rein nicely. There's no
Yes.
question about it, but she's a horse. And that's because you can see she'd tip right over if we took that horse down from underneath of her.
Now, what was it we talked about last week? A helmet or something?
Yes, there's no helmet there, but some horses, when they jump big, they come way up and right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who knows what's really happening there, but the fact is she's still not grounded. For a rider of this level, I would like to see her grounded in her lower leg with her seat down a little bit lower so she has that stable lower leg position.
Yes.
It would help the horse jump better because you can see, he's a little spread out here.
Yes. And I think too that at some point as an instructor, you have to look at your rider and say, do you want to be good at this? Do you just want to hang on? What is your goal? Because if you want to be really good, you're going to have to work. It is a sport. It's a sport. You have to be fit. You have to be able to work hard on the details to move up another level. And
so that's the thing, right? Like, she's excellent. I mean, she's staying with the horse. She's got a nice position, but like you say, if she wants to move up to the next level, she's got to get that weight down, exactly what Randy's saying, down there more.
Yeah. And it's not that she can't move up to the next level, but if she wants to be successful, she has to fix some of those things. And I'd love to see a video of her.
I'll ask you for a video, sure.
Yeah, and because I think there's a good feel here. I think
Yep.
I mean, there's so many good things going. It's like I look at the picture and I don't think, oh. I think that's a good feel. It almost looks like she's maybe leaning off to the right a little bit, like more weight in her right stirrup than her left. It's interesting when you stare at them long enough, you can kind of see some stuff, but it may be the jump. It may, who knows? It
kind of looks like she's looking over to the left, so maybe she's turning, but
she needs to learn to turn and keep the weight on both sides of her horse. If she is turning left, and if it was right away, she still needs to put that left foot long
down.
And down.
Yeah.
And be in the middle of her horse as she's turning, because she's not supposed to be shifting her weight around. She's supposed to be telling him to shift his weight. Right? Does that make sense?
Sure. Sounds great.
So, yep. That's what I see. And this girl, is she in Texas? I'm looking at the trees.
I don't know. I don't know where she came from. I don't know, but I mean, would you let this young person ride your horse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that following hand that she's got looks like she's opening it up a bit to lead the horse to the turn. I think she's got a great feel, and I think it's a young person, like a junior rider. I think it's a pony, and I think it's a junior rider if I remember properly. And I just think it's great.
Yeah, there's lots of really good things here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like that.
Excellent.
Cool. Fun.
All right. Fun. Jeez,
fun.
My goodness, we've done an hour already. It just seems
there you
to
go.
Seems and to go past.
I need to go get hay before the
rain comes.
Well, we're not going to have rain, but before they close at 1.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Randy. Thank you. Put your hand up against the screen. We'll do a high five. No, this way.
Other way.
High five. And Patty.
Yeah.
Good girl.
Woo-hoo. Yes, they let me do it that way because they know I could never figure it out.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. If you have any questions, please send us some questions and comments, put them in the comments. And what else am I supposed to say? I forget.
Say bye, have a great day, nice weekend, and hopefully things are opening up
Oh.
soon.
Yes, send us an email, thistleridge@hotmail.com.
Yeah, and
There we
remember,
go.
wait, I have something to say.
What?
Remember that Laura, Randy, and myself are available for clinics. And we would love to do that.
Yes, we would like to. Imagine if we could go to a clinic together.
We've
We would
talked
have
about that,
so-
Randy. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
That would be awesome.
We'd have a
Those
really good time. I don't know if
needles, they
anybody
would
learned
be-
anything.
There would be what do you call those metronomes and ropes and buttons and
All those
people.
things. Exactly. We'd have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now go use
Bye-bye.
this stuff. Thank you so much. Bye. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more comment. Going to get
Oh.
this last comment in. Great.
Great
Great episode.
ESP, ladies.
Thank you. See you later. Thank
Thanks,
you. See
bye.
you next week for sure.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. I really want to end it. Yes. Now